And we're back. Welcome back. And you are getting ready to experience an awesome show. We have Doug Monda here, Paul from the Dirty Oar, Chris Hadaway, and we have Chris Fields from the Oklahoma City bombing 25 years ago, right? And so this is going to be a great conversation. We hope that, let me get turned down here because I got 15 things going on at once. When I walked in, I saw this beautiful can. It's actually new artwork by Eric Lamar. And so the Dirty Oar is producing something new right now. And I believe this beautiful golden drink in front of me that I'm spilling everywhere is...
Did you have a homicide today?
Shots fired. Okay. something. Look, now they're all going to throw something at me. I appreciate it.
I've never seen them like that before.
I'm all nervous and excited. I've been on call all weekend and don't even know how to be around alcohol anymore.
So. That's what it is.
So I guess that kind of shows you. It's the beer's called Nelson Smash, and I just smashed it against the microphone. So, Paul, welcome. Tell us what you got.
This is our latest offering. It's Smash IPA. Smash means single malt, single hops. It's made with Nelson Sauvin hops, Golden Promise malt. Excellent for brewing cocoa water.
Oh, yeah.
And USO5 yeast, and that's it, and it is delicious. 7.0 ABV.
Oh, nice.
Really nice. And featured in Eric's new cans that just came this week.
Beautiful.
But yeah, very good.
All right.
I was going to think, when you said Nelson's, I being a Cocoa Beach kid, the first thing I thought of was like Space Center shit. Nelson. Wasn't that the dude's name from Genie? I Dream of Genie?
Oh, yeah, Major Nelson, right?
Yeah, Major Nelson. Gosh, you got a steel trap up there.
It's a rare moment, dude. You know that I came up, that little, even Chris Fields is laughing. He's like, that freaking dude don't remember his ass from a holding ground. I guess I was right. It was Major Nelson.
Yep. Major Nelson.
That's probably because I'm thinking of Major Chris Fields, so maybe that's where it came from.
That's it. So some good things are happening. I know that Doug got to stop by the Dirty Oar and put together some mash and figure out how to make a special brew.
Yeah, actually, Doug was there when we did the Everyone's Hero, which will be released on September 27th at the Survive First benefit at the brewery. We actually just put that in the Bright Tank today, too, and it is awesome.
Amazing. Right.
It's Chris outdid himself on this batch. It's really good.
You know, it's hard to think that, a little bit of science, a whole lot of love, and each year you continue to top the year prior to. Not only is the Everyone's Hero an amazing brew, but the time that we're going to have on the 27th is going to be incredible also. So.
Yeah, we've got the Rockstar Lobster Truck is going to be there, and their food's phenomenal. If you haven't had it, they do a great job, and they'll be there the whole day. I just brought some stuff for Karen to put together, some baskets to raffle off, and I'm sure she has other surprises in store as well.
Absolutely.
So it should be a good time.
Yeah, like 5 baskets that we're going to raffle off, and they're the Florida Sheriff Association text me today, and they sent us a care package with like Yeti stuff and all kinds of cool. Yeah. And we got quite. It's gonna be cool. Yeah. The last one was pretty epic too, man. That we did when we released the beer the last time. But I'm looking forward to it, even though I'm gonna be a couple hours late to my own event.
Running behind, but we'll make sure we get kicked off.
I know you got me covered. So
absolutely. Yeah. So if you make it to the Space Coast, you have an amazing brew that's going to be released on September 27th. We expect to see you there. And then people that aren't from Florida that find their way over to the Dirty Oar have an amazing lobster truck to get some food out of. So, I mean, we're going to encompass everything in one spot for a couple hours, have a great time, raise some money for the Dirty Oar, for Survive First, so we can keep going and keep paving the way for first responders and everybody that is touched by this world. So if I found my way to Cocoa, tell me how I can find exactly where we're at.
329 King Street. We are just about a block east of US 1 on the south side. What used to be Norman's is within our parking lot. We're open Wednesday through Sunday. Typically closed Mondays and Tuesdays. We do open on the holidays. On Monday, we were open for Labor Day.
Nice.
But,
did they open the bars and restaurants today?
Today, yes.
Oh yeah.
so we can go back to
drinking every day, all day long. Look,
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
everybody's freaking excited. Bars are probably packed tonight, man. People in my town are probably losing their damn mind.
Alcohol is essential. I mean, we should have been doing this from the very beginning.
Pretty much, yeah. That's why things have gone so chaotic, because they shut down the bars. So people got nothing to do, so they're going in the streets and rioting.
That's it. So we're down one person today. I guess Karen couldn't make it because the bars are open. Is that, no, I'm joking.
Yeah, no. Of all people, it wouldn't be her. It might be me, but
right.
But yeah, that's why I was running a little late, because I had to walk back in the house and make me a roadie.
Peanut butter and jelly.
Peanut butter and jelly sandwich for the road. But now Karen's at home handling business, and man, we're super slammed with Survive First stuff. Chris and I are, we'll talk about that later, and the rest of the guys are going on tour next week, so we're getting ready for that. And man, all kinds of crazy stuff. Plus, she might be a little bit mad at me. You never know.
No, there might be some underlying thing there. We'll get to that, I'm sure.
I've been known for a thing or two.
Shenanigans.
Yeah.
That's what we call them. So we are blessed to have Chris Fields here. I was just going through and looking at the pictures from the Oklahoma City bombing and the impact that had on the world at the time. It kind of really changed the way of our life. And then later we would experience 9/11 and many other terrorist attacks across the United States. But that one really stands out for everybody because that was the most carnage that we got to see firsthand, and that's when really the news media exploded and were able to put pictures out. And so welcome. And I mean, we have 1,000 questions and a million things to talk about in just a short time. So
I don't have any.
None?
No, because I travel with him now. He's answered all of them. I'm just giving him a hard time. That's what we do. Let me. Brian said hi. Brian, I'm glad you're watching. Adam, man, I miss you, buddy. Chris, before you get chimed in, I've probably never said this. No, I know I haven't never said this to you. So for everybody listening, Chris and I we're part of Trauma Behind the Badge team. We travel together, we speak together, and obviously we're friends. But one thing what Chris Hadaway just said about the carnage and the pictures, and for us older guys, we remembered a lot more. What Chris was saying then September 11th. But the point I want to make is for Chris Fields is because I know Chris so well, and we're close like that. I don't look at when the Oklahoma bombing comes up, that carnage has been transferred. So I only think of Chris Fields. Right. Now, obviously, there's his story, and there's a pinnacle moment in that whole ordeal that that involves Chris. But when I hear about it, I only think about Chris, because right. I know what he's gone through, and I know. So that's the only thing I see. So it's amazing how it's transferred. Right. You see it one way, I see it another. I'm sure, and we all know Chris sees it a different. So I just wanted to say that to you, Chris. I just don't see the event like that. So it'd probably be, as we talk tonight, maybe we could put a spin on that. Chris and I have our own. We talk on a show together. Right. So this is just a little bit different that he's on this show with me, and so I at some point tonight, maybe we could talk and touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, well, first of all, man, just thanks for having me. I tune in every other Monday usually, and always good shows, and I hope I can, just bring some awareness to first responders, military vets, everything. So, just what y'all's main goal of your show is to reach out and let everybody know that, I know it sounds so cliche, but, it's okay to not be okay. But
yeah.
That's the message we want to get out.
Oh, I don't think you can say it any clearer.
No.
And God bless him. I talk about him all the time. John Mina, man, he, when he did that, it was amazing how many people would, how that repeated. And I don't even, I'm going to have to call him and ask him. I don't think he realizes the impact that statement made. You know what I'm talking about, Chris?
Right.
The sheriff from
Yeah.
was actually it was Raul's boss. So as everybody knows,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
when Raul was on the show, but obviously Raul is mine and Chris's partner on Trauma Behind the Badge. Also, there's 6 of us, 4 full-time guys. Raul being one of them, and Raul's boss, right? Chris,
Right.
I'm right. Am
Right.
I right?
Yep.
It was John Mina was the chief or under chief.
He was the chief at the time, yeah.
At Orlando PD when the Pulse shooting went down, and now he's the sheriff of that county. But a simple statement like that has made such an impact. I'm glad you said that,
That's right.
Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us. Let's kind of work backwards, because I think that I mean,
Okay.
where are you at now, and what is your mission, and what are you doing? Because this is we're a bunch of cops. We cop talk all the time, and bringing a firefighter with such prestige and background that you have, this kind of helps us to bridge the conversation. Of course, we have Kevin Falk, a part of Survive First, and he does such a great job helping us here locally.
It's my fault he ain't here.
That's okay.
I've just been so overwhelmed.
Kevin,
man.
we miss you.
I've thought about that several
Yeah.
times. I'm just going to call Kevin, have him come do the show. You know what I mean? I
Right.
was going to let you and Kevin do the show, and I just wanted to watch it, because obviously, working with Chris, but I apologize for not bringing Kevin
No,
in.
that's
So-
okay. So I know he's here in spirit, and he'll
Right.
even chime in just a little bit. So tell us where you're at now, and what your mission is, and how you're connecting with people, and how you tell your story, and then we'll kind of work backwards from there, and then get down to the nitty gritty.
Okay. Current day, time and day, I'm, I've got a little thing called Out of Chaos. It's kind of what I call my presentation, and it's kind of a little company I've started to reach out to first responders, working with Trauma Behind the Badge with Doug and Chris Scallon and all of them. And, it's just to get the message out to first responders. And, of course, my heart lies with all first responders. My heart lies with, firefighters, because that's where I come from. That's the world I was raised in. And the fire service I think we lag behind. I think we lag behind as far as the awareness, the mental health awareness part of it. And I don't know what that reason is. I don't know, but, I hope to make an impact and break that stigma, which I think, like I say, I think law enforcement's, we're still having the suicides and everything, but I think as far as the awareness of it and that it's okay to reach out, I just feel like the law enforcement's, a little ahead. I think I read Friday, as of Friday, I think there's been 60 firefighter suicides and 19 EMS, so 79 total out of firefighter and EMS. That's probably, much like law enforcement, that's probably not accurate. There's probably more. It's not reported that way.
Chris,
I'm blessed to have the platform I have because of the Oklahoma City bombing and the photo that came with it and all that. So I was always searching for the why it was me and why it happened and so this is 25 years later. This is my why.
Yeah. I don't know if I ever asked you this before, but the picture is it? That's a stupid question. I guess
No
I'm
question.
I'm gonna say that to you in private. But
Okay.
how do you think the pictures affected you? How do you, does the pictures is it still, and for maybe some of the people listening don't know about the picture we're talking to and talking about, but you can touch on it, Chris. But when you see the picture now, how does it affect you? That's a stupid question because I know what it is.
Talking about the photo of me and Bailey Allman.
Yeah.
Yes, it was, taken that morning. If we go into the whole story, I didn't find out till like 11 o'clock that night. There had even been a photo taken. But, and a lot of people don't know because I get asked, matter of fact, I just got asked this weekend about how she was doing. I think, well, she was deceased when I had her. And, when I see it, I still think about the pain that Erin, that's Bailey's mother, and we're really close today. Our families are. But I still think about the pain that she went through. I don't think, and I don't say it as, I'm a firefighter hero. I was doing my job that day, and man, she was a 20-year-old single mom, and Bailey had just turned a year old the day before the bombing. And so when I see that picture, that's the first thing I usually think of. I deal with it better now. I look at the positive that's came out of it, and I say positive, and I get that from Erin. She loves the fact that I'm out speaking to first responders about reaching out for help, and that photo of Bailey is part of it. It's part of my presentation. I show that picture, then I show the picture of Bailey the day before, and I do that to honor Erin and Bailey, because sometimes Bailey gets forgotten. She's just they talk about some of the other kids and what they like to do and the toys they liked. Well, Bailey's pretty much just the baby that was in the firefighter's arms. Mm-hmm. So I always show the photo briefly, and then I show Bailey the day before, just to show that she was a real person. Mm-hmm. But I'm okay with it, and like I said, because I know so much good's coming out of it, and I know that Erin supports me out using that, talking about it, and that Bailey's life, even though she was 1 year old, is making a difference.
Wow.
It's there's so much to take away from that, because what you just said was, she was just the baby that had the picture taken with the firefighter. Mm-hmm. And I know that at the lowest level, law enforcement, firefighters, everybody connected to first responders, they value life so much. And to come out of the rubble with the baby in your arms and not even know the picture was there, you didn't stop and pose. You were just doing what your natural job was to do at the time. And to turn it around and turn it into a positive. And how long have you been speaking on a stage and trying to help firefighters and first responders?
Probably about 2.5 years now, maybe 3. I retired 3 years ago.
Okay.
So I really wasn't doing it while I was on the job. So pretty much, 3 years would be the max. And just a little background real quick, since a lot of people don't know the whole story. And you mentioned, I wasn't posing for a picture. Once I see the photo, and actually the photo is actually a little bigger. They cropped it down to just that. The photo, if you see the wide photo, I'm standing down on the ground below me as an ambulance attendant. And what had happened, I had got Bailey, checked her for any signs of life. She had like an open skull fracture, and her throat was full of, the time I was thinking insulation, it was concrete dust and stuff. So I didn't get any signs of life, but I saw the ambulance across the street. So I walked her over to the ambulance, and I told the ambulance attendant, I said, I have a critical infant. And he looked around, and the ambulance was full. There was a person on the floor, on the cot, and up on a bench seat. There were several people around on stretchers on the ground. And he said, well, let me get a blanket, because we're not going to put that baby on the ground. And in the photo, you can actually see he's looking away from me, pointing. He's actually telling somebody in the ambulance to get him a blanket. And so when I'm standing there, what I'm doing is just waiting for him to get that blanket. But I'm looking at her, because I knew she was relatively close to a year old. I had a son at home that was 2. And in my mind, I was just thinking, somebody's world is getting ready to be turned upside down. That's all I was thinking. I didn't know who, but I said somebody's world. And then not to realize, because that was only like an hour into the incident, so not to realize that same feeling amongst all first responders was going to be felt and dealt with, 167 more times that day. She was the first fatality that we encountered, but there ended up being 168 fatalities. So to know that, thinking that these people's worlds are going to be turned upside down, and that it happened so many times that day, and that didn't count the over 700-800 injuries. Some that people are still having surgeries for today, 25 years later.
Wow. Like, think about tunnel vision, right? So you're responding to a call, whatever that call looks like, and I mean, our picture, our immediate picture, is very small, right? It's just this mm-hmm. world right in front of us, and to think, I mean, pulling up on a fire rig, pulling up in a patrol car, everybody's there. There's a there is mass chaos, and you're thinking about one person, one family at that moment, instead of thinking about all of the devastation around you. Like the walls were peeled off of that building. How many stories was that building?
9.
9 stories.
9 stories.
9 stories. Yeah. And those were peeled off from all the way to the very top. And to take the time to think somebody's world, just, and not think about the multitude of families that would be impacted, because then, after we started seeing, the people that were immediately affected, that were injured, that were killed, it would go on to reach further out into the United States. Of course, there were people that was their very first trauma, just being a civilian sitting at home, like, oh my God, how could this happen to America at this time? And then you would have a bunch of people that are invested in the well-being of the United States and the citizens to go and start working this, to find this bad guy and who these people were. And, so I just find it absolutely incredible that for something so big that you can pull yourself in and say, this one life is really going to change somebody else's life, and to not let that story pass without bringing her up and her family and sticking to it. And I think there's an important message just in the underlying part of this, is that even when there's chaos around you, there's somebody in front of you, and you can help that person. And I'm sure that just retiring 3 years ago after 25 years of service, I don't think that one day was your peak in service, right? I'm sure that you have, or you're starting to learn of the different lives that you impacted, and those helped you to get through the 25 years of service. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, it was not the, it was of course what I guess you would say the pinnacle. It was the largest, scale event certainly in my 31 years. But it was you start looking back on the, that's what helps you too. You can't focus on all the negative. I mean, we, firefighters, law enforcement, we pride ourselves on getting there and making a bad situation better. Well, that day we didn't, so that was pretty hard to deal with. We did for some, but not for the majority. But when you sit down, that was one thing when I went through my EMDR, my counselor, my clinician. That's what she would, because that's what I focused. I focused on that. I focused on, several other traumatic calls in my career. House fire was on, where 3 of our guys were killed. One of them was my mentor, the reason I got on the fire department. And and you question, what if, could we have done this? But she said, just, man, stop back over 31 years and think about all the positive impacts you did have on people. Maybe on a house fire, saving their house, or even saving, I know it sounds, but we've actually, saving a dog, or, doing CPR on somebody and actually getting a pulse back, and then them coming by the fire station to thank you with their family, that you saved their life. So yeah, there's so much you focus on the bad so often. But it's always good to sit back, which I do, sit back and reflect on the positive impact you had on people's lives also.
More than even that. Is my mic on?
Yeah.
I can't hear myself. I stress out if I can't hear myself. The amount of lives. So Chris had made a statement. This last, I've been sitting here listening. So, it's funny. You work homicides, I've worked them, but I don't anymore. You still work. Chris, like he was saying, man, all the other people and stuff in there. And I instantly thought of how cool, what good came out of that day is what Chris was talking about, is I look at him as, and this, people who know me know, I know what it's like to lose a child.
Right.
And
right.
For, it's been rough lately, man.
I got it.
It's all good, brother.
And it's been rough lately. But you carried that lady's child back to from the rubble. That's the way I saw it.
Right.
Couldn't change the situation.
Well,
right? So how
and
awesome is that?
what was that? How often? What did you say? You kind of cut out, or I did.
Yeah, probably. We're used to cutting each other off. we do that on stage a lot. How awesome is it? The way I saw it when you said, you were carrying that you couldn't help everybody, but some good came out of the day. I'm putting pieces together from multiple senses, and that's what I thought of. Like how you were sitting there looking at the baby, going, "Man, somebody's world is going to be turned upside down." Your world ain't going to be turned upside down, and it's why I take this job so serious, because I used to be a normal guy, and I got fucked up, and I didn't do the right thing, and because of that, and because of the horrible shit that was going through my head that I didn't do the right thing, I got to experience losing a child.
Right.
And so there's part of that just burns me up inside every day. People, I get asked a lot of questions, as you know this. Why the fuck am I so violent? People, my own family and friends are like, and I tell them, man, in my way, in my head, I'm thinking, and I know Chris gets this, and I know you get this, man. We've all been there and done that. In my head is, how can I not be? I'm so angry, right? There's a part of me that's so enraged and so angry because I take such great pride in myself as an athlete more than anything, and all the things I achieved. And so I held myself up to standard, and now I look back and go, how did I let this happen? And that's part of what drives me. And I bet you, Chris, you agree with me, how it drives you. See, because, Chris hadn't got, I know Chris a little bit different. He's lived the life I've lived.
Right.
And I'll let him, that's for him to talk about that. But I know we have that connection in there. And you being in combat, you've got that connection, man. There's just times where you're just like, man, it's just brutal, right? So and I want to attach that to you saying, something good came out. Yeah, something really good. I mean, of a situation only God could have changed. You carried that little baby from the rubble to its mom, so to speak. So I'm honored to be your friend, Chris.
And well, thank you, brother. Same here. And real quick, you talk about the positive that came out of it, and that's what I do. I mean, I still have days where I think, golly, I wasted about 6-7 years of my life. I put my wife through hell, my kids through hell, but then I think, well, look where I'm at now, what I'm doing now. And I always talk about these two people, if I got just a second, real quick. Dana Bradley, she was the last person taken out of the building alive. They had to amputate her leg from the knee down to get her out. And so she was pinned. So a doctor, this story is amazing. It's on the internet. There's probably going to be a movie about it, I hope. But this doctor went down there. She had no anesthetic, just a little local deal. He ended up cutting the final tendon with a pocket knife he had in his pocket. Everything else was wore out. The blade were wore out. So she went through all that, and she lost her mother and 2 children that day. But she survived. She's out talking about it now. Another lady, real quick, named Amy Downs. She was trapped for 3 or 4 hours in the rubble. She was a part-time teller at the Federal Employees Credit Union. She weighed 355 pounds. When they had to evacuate the first time, they left her. That we were forced to leave the building. She said she started just praying, get me out of here, and I will. Well, about 3 years ago, she completed her first triathlon, and she's now the president of that very credit union that was piled on top of her.
Wow.
She went back to school, got her training, got her education. She's now the president of that credit union.
Hey,
those are the stories that I use to say, you got it pretty easy, Chris. Pick yourself up and go have a good day.
That's some badass bitches right there, right? Like that's a bad bitch right there. You don't want to take that girl to the cleaners. Then right. She gonna tear you up.
Yeah. She rides bikes in those 75, 100-mile bike rides now. Everything, and so those, like I say, and there's so many of those stories that came. One guy that saved 8 or 9 people was a blind guy that worked in the building. Well, he told him just to grab hold of him because he'd walked that staircase 20 years blind. He knew where every step was. So he led them out of it. I mean, there's so many positive stories that came out of it. And one of the positives that it's some people that maybe don't think it's a positive, but to see that building, 9 stories, pancaked down on top of each other, if you'd have told me there's only going to be 168 fatalities, I would have told you it's crazy.
Right.
So
yeah,
every life lost was precious, but to see that building the way it was, and only 168 people lost their lives, that was a miracle within itself.
It's American ingenuity and American engineering.
We don't look at things like that.
Right.
You know, like the positive, and I
Yep.
know Chris puts a positive take on it. You know, one thing I forget to mention earlier is one of the key things that's always stuck to me, and it was probably the very first time I heard Chris speak. Where were we, Chris? Man, it was a couple of years ago. Arizona.
It was Tucson. One of
Yeah,
Jay
with
Dobbins'
Jay.
deals.
Yeah, we were with Jay Dobbins, and we were all doing our thing. And he got up there and he made it real clear, and it wasn't bullshit either. He made it real clear. He said, I wasn't the only guy. I just happened to be that guy there at that moment. He goes, there was all his other guys were working there. You remember talking about that, Chris?
Yep. Oh yeah.
All his other guys. He
definitely.
goes, they're just as much heroes. They were all doing it. He just happened to be the guy that was standing there at the time, you know,
Right.
in that situation. And that's and he meant it. It's like,
Right.
what is that word? Selflessness? Selfless?
Yes. Yeah.
And I was
That's a big
very
word for
fortunate
me.
too that I had the support of those guys and girls I worked with, because being singled out was really hard, and didn't want to do these interviews, and your brain plays these little mind word games on you, and the chief would call and say, hey Chris, so and so wants to interview about the picture and the bombing. If you don't want to do it, just tell me, I'll be the bad guy and tell them no. And I thought, oh, so I'm a bad guy if I say no?
Right.
So, and then Chief John Hanson, he was our public information officer at the time. What a mentor and a friend. He knew I was struggling with it. So he just told me, he said, hey dude, it ain't about Chris Fields. He said, you're representing, he said, that photo, yes, you're in a fireman's gear, but you're representing every first responder, and Bailey was representing every innocent victim that day, whether they perished or they were injured. So I had, that was the kind of spin I put on it. It wasn't about Chris Fields. It was about, and that was the kind of support I got from the guys and girls in the fire department. They said, hey man, you're representing us well. Keep going. Several of them say, we've got some other goobers it could have been, and they'd been out representing us, So
Right.
I always had tons of positive support from those guys and girls that I worked with that day.
That's pretty cool.
So you went through hell and you came through and you saw some shit and you talked about it a little bit. When did the walls fall down around you, and then when did you pull your head out of your ass? And how did you start talking about it?
Well, now if my wife was sitting beside me, she'd tell you that my head is probably still at my ass somewhere.
Hey, listen, tell them who you're married to, Chris. Tell them.
Yeah, she's a Mexican. So
She'll catch
she'd
Yeah.
let you know.
We
But
share that
it
common
wasn't.
bond.
It was one of them deals where all the stuff I was dealing with after the photo was, especially after I met Erin, Bailey's mom, was the irrational guilt. I've had all this guilt because of the photo, because I was the last one to hold her child. She didn't get to grieve privately. It was just, everything was just a public, deal. Even when she tried to keep it not public, it was public. And then being singled out. So I handled that pretty well. I thought, kept it fresh to myself. And then it was about 8 years after. It was 8 years. I was just I'd have my days where I'd come home and lay around and not, act like I was great. And then when the wife left for work, I'd get on the couch and lay there all day long until she was about ready to come home. And then we were putting a pool in the backyard, and I was out helping them bust out concrete, and it started to rain. And a lot of people don't know it rained the night of the Oklahoma City bombing. So I caught a smell of wet concrete dust when we were doing that. I didn't know what a trigger was at the time, of course, but that I remember that day thinking, oh my God, that smells just like inside the building that evening. I didn't freak out at the time, but it stuck with me. And that's probably the turning point, when I noticed that my isolation, my depression, my quick temper, all that started to increase more and more and more. And, it developed into a lifestyle where my wife said, straighten up, get help, or get out. And hey, I'm Chris Fields, you're not going to tell me what to do. I got out. Extramarital affair, humiliating my wife and my family and my friends. I look back, and the very people that were trying to help me, those were the ones I was pushing away. the ones I was welcoming into my circle were the beer drinking buddies at the strip bar going, hey man, you're your own man. You do what you want to do, And I'd worry about my kids, and your kids are resilient. They bounce back. Well, yeah, they're resilient, but you don't think they notice. I thought I was hiding it pretty well, but they knew. And so, after about 15, well, I could ask my wife; she knows exactly. I think it was 15 or 16 months we were separated. Right. Divorce papers drawn up, the whole 9 yards. I always tell people there's 3 people that never gave up on me. God, my wife, and my mom. Those are the 3 that never gave up on me. And it was one morning I woke up after I tried to mix too much prescription drugs and alcohol to see if I could let everybody have a fresh start without me. I woke up the next morning and just laying there in this little apartment I had, thinking, I said, there's no way there's no way this is my purpose, in life. And not saying that my purpose was to become a speaker and go speak to people and do trauma behind the back, but even just a little thing, I was thinking, I need to be a father, a husband, and a friend. That was my purpose. And I got up, called my wife, and like I say, this is a woman I'd publicly humiliated and alienated for 16 months, and said, I want to come home. And her first words were, come on. And I think I had a man ask me one time, when did you know that everything was going to be okay when you turned the corner? And I said, when I called my wife and she had the grace to say, come home. I knew right there, I thought, okay, if she can do that, I can get over any personal battles I got, I can get through them. If she can overcome that. It wasn't easy. It wasn't a smooth transition, but through some bumps in the road and a few chug holes. That's an Oklahoma word. I don't know if y'all have chug holes in Florida or not.
We don't do those anymore. We're cops.
We
call them chug holes.
We don't do those.
We don't have tigers either in our backyards like y'all do. We got all kinds of other shit.
But so it was after that, and finally reaching out for the help. And I always tell everybody the funniest, not funny, the most real thing I remember is when I started to reach out for help. Everybody that I had alienated, embarrassed, humiliated, that was reaching out to help me and I pushed them away, those were the ones waiting for me to help me. The buds that I had that were my beer drinking buddies, they were nowhere. When I was working to get back home and save my marriage, they were nowhere to be found. But all the people that I'd pushed away were right there waiting for me. And like I say, it was a long battle, but my wife will tell you, our marriage the last 10 or 12 years has been married 31 years. No, that's wrong. I've been married 33 years.
Congratulations.
And, you better get your shit
the last
together,
12 to 13. Yeah. She might be watching. So
this is documented, bro. It's going to be on iTunes in a little bit.
Yeah. So, but like I say, ever since then, man, things have just been, and it doesn't go to say I don't have bad days still. But like I said, it's easy for me to reflect on where I'm at now and where I've been and able to get through them.
So, it's incredible. Like, as I listen to you speak, I can already hear the however many people that'll ever come across this and they'll pause, and they might even click the pause button and sit there and think, holy shit, Chris Fields, that guy's me. That's who I am. And
definitely me. I did it.
I think you just spoke to the world and let everybody know that, listen, there's few things that separate us, and we all deal with the same shit, and we all go through the same thing, and you just painted a picture of a life for some people to come and a life that some people are in, and definitely a life that some people have already lived. And I think that's right. The biggest takeaway here is anybody that's listening right now or listens later needs to know that they're absolutely not alone.
Right.
I appreciate you taking the time to spell that out for everybody, because we'll say that again. We'll have another guest and we'll talk about it, and it'll be said in a different way, but we can't say that enough, that everybody goes through the same stuff. And I tell kids when I was doing community policing, there's only a few things that separate us, and what really separates us is our experience. But at the end of the day, a lot of the things look the same. It might be in a different house, it might be in a different city, it might be in a different country, but it's the same, where we all get broken, we all get down, and we need a redeemer. We need some grace, and we need to forgive and to get stronger and get healthy and to move on.
Right. And one thing, Chris, I like to tell people too is when I thought about trying to end it all, but I wasn't even dealing with all the bombing issues. By that time, and that's why I try to tell people it doesn't have to get to that point. By that time, it was living with all the humiliation and embarrassment and things I'd done to my family. I thought, okay, I can never get back from this. But then when I went to get help and got into recovery and counseling and did EMDR and all that, to where I thought, okay, if I can just get this bombing stuff cleared up, I'm good. Well, it was more. It was at that time it was 20-something years on the job. It was the house fire where my mentor was killed. It was making a car wreck of an off-duty firefighter buddy of mine. Him and his 12-year-old son hit head on. And so it was just a plethora of the whole career, and it went back to childhood events in my life. So it was eye-opening. And so I always try to. One thing I told Aaron, I said, little Bailey probably saved my life. She helped me deal with some stuff that I never thought I would deal with, and that eventually would have taken its toll on me, probably worse than it did. So, like I say, it's one of the deals. Once you scratch the surface, it's you're going to find out a whole lot of things about yourself.
It's like squeezing the best pimple, right? You got to get down in there and
exactly.
really work it out, and then it feels so good.
I'm blown away. Hey, so before I forget, because 5-Minute Bob over here is going to forget, but for our show and Chris for Trauma Behind the Badge, let's get one of the doctors to come on the show, and I want to talk about what you guys were talking about, of how Chris was telling his story, and as he's telling his story, I'm over here going, well, I already know his story, but I'm like, I'm the same dude. I did the same shit to Karen, and except, she only moved 5 houses away and freaking, had the binoculars on me and came over and
said, you ain't going nowhere. You ain't doing nothing. She did the
same thing, but I'm lucky. You know what I mean? Just like he is. Call it what you want, but the same thing, the same pattern. I'm sitting here, and as you said, like, you're speaking to everybody. And I know we have boys, Chris and I have boys who've done the same shit, whether they ever came out with it or got caught or whatever, but that same mentality. Moral of the story is, I think that's a question for a professional. Like, we'll get Doc on the show, Chris, and say, what's going on in there? Is it a trauma-related thing? Why do all of us do that type of stuff when that could be avoided? Because, like Chris was saying, wasn't so much the bombing. Right. And for us, it's not so much the combat. It's not so much that stuff. It's the stuff that you do and at home. And Paul's been through it. I mean, he's been divorced, right? It's the stuff you bring home and do that makes the freaking absolute nightmare as well. Right. And the totality of that is what crushes first responders. So maybe we can address that.
Well, and I can say, and I don't know about for you, Chris, but so I got a label, and this was probably one of the hardest labels I ever got, and I was the Officer of the Year. And at the same time, I was having my pictures taken all the time, doing all kinds of different interviews for different things that the agency that I work for was doing. And we were moving and shaking. We were really doing some, and that they're still doing amazing things in that little city. But just the attention burned up people around me, and it kind of isolates you. It's isolating because people want to know, they want to engage a conversation, but they don't even take the time to think about where you've been, what you've done, what the cost is, because there's always a cost associated with every picture, every time you're out in the media, and what it is, what the perception is, and then what that limits you to do. So one of the things, building a home bar, why would I build a home bar? So I don't have to go out.
You're cool as hell, dude.
No. But so people can come over and we can hide in the house and not have to go out and have the the people that we police and the people that we interact with looking at us and saying, "Ooh, look, he had a drink. Oh, wow," whatever it is.
Right.
But we seclude ourselves, and then I think the stress of the people that we work with not understanding, putting ourselves out there, and did we do it for the picture? Did we do it for the title? Did we do it for the award? Hell no, not one time.
Never.
It just happened, and so it starts to separate us where we're at in the workplace, and now you're trying to find the right relationships where you work, and that's not always easy, because who's that? Yeah, I can go out and have a beer with you, but can we really have a relationship? And when I say relationship, I don't want to hold your hands and make out with you in the back seat. I want to freaking have somebody that's got my back.
Unless she's hot as hell. Like, is that what you're saying?
No, I'm talking about you. Like, I mean, but
our wives are watching. I'm just
right.
being a smart
and having a work wife. I mean, she's probably my best partner, because she gets it. She's been there. She's
You're
done those
so
things.
lucky, man.
Yeah.
Chris, his partner at work. I
ass.
love her with all my heart, man. And she's a badass bitch
Oh,
too,
yeah.
man. She don't play no
No,
shit.
she will not.
I do. She's cool as shit. You're lucky, man. Make sure you tell her.
I sure will.
Make sure you
I
tell
sure
her.
will. So, I mean, it's a big deal, and being able to understand all those different things. But I think we're going to find a solution here, and I know you're coming up with it. So, shoot it at us.
He don't know what shoot means. You
Well,
gotta
okay,
say,
okay,
say
spray-
it at us.
Spray us.
Yeah. So say it again, because you cut out. I don't know
I'm
if it's
sorry.
my connection
I'm sorry.
or yours.
It's I
He's
have
being
Down
smart
syndrome.
ass.
Oh.
So you're gonna give us a bit of information, and I think over the next short while we're gonna work to a solution to help people figure out exactly what Doug asked. Why is it that we all go through the same thing?
Well, for me, and I think it's personally probably sums up most first responders. And I know in my case personally, I was in a leadership role on the fire department. I was a station officer, so you have people that are assigned to you that work for you that you don't want to let down. You feel like if you show that you're weak, you let them down. And then you got the people that put you in that position, the chiefs that put you in that position, you darn sure don't want to let them down. And then I had done, especially because of the photo, and I know not everybody goes through that, but for me I had done so many interviews, and I always get the question, how you doing? I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Every now and then get a little emotional on interview, but I'm good. So, and now I'm going to have to go admit that I'm not good. And so I think keeping my persona up that I'm the helper, I don't need help. It's almost like it's okay not to be okay. It's so simple, but I think that's the mentality we get in. It's a lot of it's ego. People can say what they want. We do these professions. We don't do it and y'all can probably hear that my dog going bonkers in the background. But sorry about that. Door's shut and everything.
You said ego.
But he. So for me, it was like I say, it was an ego deal. It was, and I'd already established myself as, this is what I want to do. Yeah, from the outside it may look, but I'm happy. I'm happy living in a 800 square foot apartment, and not seeing my kids all the time, and living a double life, and so it just becomes a deal to where we get so hardened to that life that we don't think we can go back, and then it's admitting failure. It's a big thing, and so it's just for me that's how it was for me, was the ego and the I'm the helper, I don't need help, I'm a station officer, I got to speak up for everybody. But I will tell you this, when I got back from my treatment and everything, first thing I did is when I went back to work, I mean, I'm assuming everybody probably knew. They knew me and Cheryl were, well, I take that back. There's a lot of people who didn't even know me and Cheryl were separated. That's how well I faked it when I went to work. And but once I did get back from treatment, first thing I did was I sat down, everybody at my station, told them exactly what I'd been through, what I had done, where I'd been, and I noticed a change in the personalities at the fire station. We didn't come back and have big kumbayas all the time after a traumatic call, but I noticed that some of even the older guys with like me with 20 something years on at the time were willing to come back, and we'd sit down. We didn't, get divulge everything, but guys were willing to open up and talk about it a little more. So that was a big take. Once I opened up and was honest about where I'd been and what I'd been through, that other guys were willing to talk about it. And I still get calls today. Matter of fact, I just got a messenger on Facebook from a guy that's been retired. He's been retired 2 or 3 years now, but he just asked me. Well, he's looking for help. He's struggling with nightmares from the career, not just the bombing, but from the career. So I think it's just this big. It's the help or not needing help is what we go through.
Ooh, I'm over here. You got it. So I'm Brad's texting me, Chris, and our own buddies we work with and stuff are going, man, wow, great show, man. But whatever the thread is on the computer screen is not the thread I just found on my phone. So I've missed everybody's text tonight and not everybody's message. So I apologize, but most of them were pictures of clowns. And because everybody, good job.
Everybody's
Doug,
got jokes.
Because we need a crazier Doug Monda on the fucking streets, and he's still to this day, man, is bringing clowns everywhere I go. But anyway, Chris, man, these guys are over here on this message thread, just praising you, man, and thanking you. I wish you could see it, man. It's just on my phone. I can't, maybe it's I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll share it with you for sure.
And like I said, it is, and like Chris said, even for the first couple of times I started telling my story, that was tough to say. I was still I'd hold back, but then I don't know what it was. One day I just said, you know what, if I'm gonna open up, I'm gonna open up, and when I did, man, like I say, the floodgates opened and
change happened.
Got everything dealt with. And like I said, I still have days, but I learned how to cope and deal with them and accept them. I don't let them. I still have them, but I don't let them control me anymore.
And what does help look like for you now? Like, what do you stay involved in to keep a strong mind, a strong sword, and to help other people?
I'm telling you, doing this stuff right here. Every time I get to do these kind of things or speak, do the trauma behind the bad stuff, man, it is therapeutic. It makes me, it validates where I've came, where I'm at now in my life. And when I have the bad, I got my sons are 27 and 21, so it's nice to be able to call them up. We'll go play 18 holes, and things like that. Because that's what I used to do, and I don't know what book it is, talks about don't be the used to guy, I used to do this, I used to do that. So I try to get out with my boys and play golf and stay regular. And like I said, it was, I still have the bad days, but used to when I'd have a bad day, I'd crawl in the bed and stay all day. I'd have a couple more drinks than normal. I used to let them control me, but now I'm just going, you know what? I'm going to go in here and I'm going to be by myself for a couple hours. And if I'm going to cry, I'm going to cry. If I'm going to get angry, I'm going to get angry. And then I'm good. It doesn't control me anymore. I just accept it and deal with it and go on.
You took back control. We got 6 minutes.
Yeah.
He does, man. He kills it. And one of the things I noticed, you were asking Chris, like what he was just saying, what he does to for his recovery and stuff. And every time we're speaking, trust me, it's not that, as you witnessed it, it's not that cool.
No.
At all. And I had a meltdown just about on the stage, and I had to call Chris and Chris Hadaway. We were in Orlando.
Yep.
And I was like, hey, man, I need you to stand here next to me, man. Because and with these guys, man, it's heavy to do that. So by all means, it's not glorified in that. But what's cool about it for me is as I'm doing this and I'm yapping, I'm listening. And so I'm telling myself, this is the shit you need to be doing. This is, and I suck at it. Like, I'm good, you know what I mean? But, Karen had mentioned me the other day, like, practice what you preach. And so there's an important side to that too on recovery for us, but it's also just as, it's more important for us to get that message out there.
I think the reoccurring theme is knowing yourself first and foremost. When you recognize you're that guy that's sitting at home, that you're not contributing to your family, that you're not engaged in what you're doing, I think Top Gun, re-engage, Maverick, you got to get your head in here. When you're that guy, and you start to recognize it, something's off, right? Why am I not who I used to be? Well, it's time to grow up, and it's time to speak up. And I think that every person that we've spoken to, including Doug Weekly, listening to his message, is it's time to speak up. It doesn't matter what your trauma is. COVID for some people, and now I'm going to speak more broadly than first responders. COVID for some people is their trauma. This is the very first trauma that they've ever experienced, and it's very harsh for them, and they got to change their ways, and they got to learn to deal with it. It's their new normal. So let's step back into the first responder mindset. Your normal is not everybody else's normal, and nobody knows what the hell you've been through until you start to speak up, and you got to say, I need help. Now, it is the person saying, I need help. You might not know what your help is going to look like, but darn it, when you surround yourself by people that do your job, that actually care about you and have a support system at home, listen, you might have to tell your wife, I'm screwed up, or your significant other, I'm screwed up. I need some kind of help, and I don't know what that looks like. But hold on, hang on tight. It's going to be a bumpy ride, but we can make it through it together. Look at Chris Fields. He did it. He's been through, some very trying times. Doug Monda, he's done it. And many people before us and after us have been able to do it. So you're not by yourself, but you got to speak up. You got to find that help. You're not alone. You matter, because just as Chris Fields said, at that moment, at that level of carnage and chaos and everything, the 9-story building came tumbling down, and he was able to focus on one life that mattered. And he gave himself to that family. He carried that beautiful little girl and gave her last moment. And he was able to connect with a mom. And that's a huge deal, to make that family part of his family, not his blood family, but a family that would help drive him through 30 years later in his career, to talk about and help him work through that. So there's many different levels and facets of trauma and getting through this. But the main focus here is you're not alone. Doug does it when he steps on stage, and all these guys do it. That's their therapy. Maybe they don't need to. And I know a lot of them still go and talk and get and seek professional help, and you can do that too, and we hope that for you. And you don't even have to veer out now. You can actually do telehelp at home, right? So all of these things are coming. If it's not in your agency, if it's not where you work, reach out, ask questions, email us at Survive First. It's our first name, Chris at Survive First, Karen at Survive First, Doug at survivefirst.us, and ask the questions. We'll help you get plugged in, catch these guys on what they're doing. Trauma Behind the Badge. There's so many good things out there, and you getting help matters. You contributing and getting back into the fight and re-engaging matters to everybody, and that's why we do this. And we don't ever want to lose sight of that this isn't for us. Yes, it is for us, and it does help us take this time and to move forward, but it's also for you. And we appreciate you listening to us and taking the time. And Chris, we are so thankful that you came and you shared yourself with us. I mean, you opened up and maybe took a different look at what you've experienced through your career and your trying times and helping other people now. So we're so thankful for you. And Doug said that he's going through some shit right now, so you need to keep him in your prayers and in your mind, and support him as he travels and continues to reach out. I've just said a whole lot. I'm going to turn it over to you guys, and then I'll come back and talk about what we got coming up next.
Yeah. I'm blown away, man. What a good one. What a good talk. And, it's funny, Chris will tell you, we don't talk like this when we're on the road.
Right.
And then and there's we got Chris Scallon with us, and a couple of shows ago, a lot of people got to meet him, and you know, that guy's been through hell, if you remember his story, and as if you know, because we all know him personally. And man, you know, we've got Raul with us. So you got 4 guys in a house, man, at Airbnb, man. The last thing you want is 4 crazy guys, you know, start to feed off each other. But man, we make it fun, man. I'm honored to be part of that team as well as this team, man. We got a lot of cool shit coming up. We're going to Texas for the unveiling of the National Monument for Police Suicide, Badge of Honor, Blue Help, all those guys. So we got a gig there. Then we're headed to Baton Rouge. Then we go to Baton Rouge. And, man, we've just we got a lot of work going on. We're doing some pretty cool stuff. So I'm honored, man. And it's cool to be surrounded with such great guys, too, you know? So we got to get back to business now, Chris. No more nice guy.
There you go.
Yeah, we gotta.
Hey, well, I mean, it was an honor to be on here, and like I said, it's a great show y'all got going. Trauma Behind the Badge is good. It's great. I'm honored that they got contacted by Human Resources or something, said, hey, y'all don't have a firefighter on your deal. So on their token, you know, they had to get a firefighter on there to keep everybody happy. So, but I'm honored to be a part of it, and like I said, honored to be on y'all's show tonight.
Cool, man.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, we got. I'm excited.
Yeah,
we got some pretty cool stuff. Brad was chiming in there. I don't know if he's still watching, but we've teamed up with a lot of cool. Man, it's, you know, these are the moments where I'm grateful. Survive First is an amazing team, and they've come a long way. I say they, we, all of us. And now we've merged with, you know, Trauma Behind the Badge and Chris, and we collaborated, man. We've got collaborations all through the U.S., man. Right. We're getting ready on this Texas and Baton Rouge with Warriors Rest. They are like elite in teaching police departments peer support.
Nice.
They do all kinds of stuff, but that's their main thing, man. They're rock stars. So, man, we've united, and man, we're blessed to do some good work. Do you agree, Chris? And to be part of all this stuff.
Yeah, it's Brad. Those guys at Warriors Rest are outstanding, man. They are a solid reputation, respected by everybody that they deal with, and yeah, it's really cool to work with them.
Absolutely. I see Sean Wyman's on there, man. Y'all check Sean Wyman's stuff out. Put it on the thread, Sean, so everybody can see it. Anyway, that's it for me, man.
I'm gonna do Karen's job now.
I'm sure Karen's texting, going, talk about it, you know, because I forget everything. Chris, I'll if I don't talk to you, I'll chat with you tomorrow before the show.
Chris, brother, thank you so much.
Okay.
So we got
thank y'all so much.
September 27th at the Dirty Ore Beer Company will be holding their second annual benefit for Survive First. That's the Everyone's Hero Brew. You got to come and check us out. We'll be there. I think it kicks off at 1. Is that right, Paul?
Yeah. I mean, the truck will be there at noon.
Okay. So yeah, that's right. We'll be there at noon, and we'll be there all day. So there will be some raffles, some gift baskets going out. Hopefully you can come out and see us. I know Doug and Karen will be showing up about prime time, so we should be heated up and ready to receive them as they get in. You got to get some of that lobster right there on the Space Coast. It's incredible. You got to come to Florida and eat the seafood. October 3rd is the MFC Space Coast chapter. That's their 8th annual charity event, and this is the 3rd year in a row that they will have Survive First as their beneficiary. So please follow along on our Facebook page and get connected with that. It takes place at the VFW in Rockledge. That's 3250 U.S. Highway 1, and that's from 11 to 3. Again, those proceeds benefit the Survive First company. Survive First. And that helps us to continue to grow and to help first responders. November 1st, we will have our tent at the Riverfront Triathlon Duathlon Cocoa Village. So that's a great opportunity for everybody to come see us, meet up with us, and it's put on by Game On Race Events. So this event will run from 6 a.m. to approximately 10 a.m. Another great day to be out there. And then our Run for Responders 5K, our third annual 5K, will be held January 2nd in Cocoa Village. Jesse was the MC last year, kicked us off, had some great music, had a great time. We're looking for another great event out there, and we'll need everybody to sign up. Listen, the packets will go fast, right? I said packets, right?
That's right.
Okay. I'm still learning this race lingo. The only running I do is to like the donut shop. So forgive me if that's.
I'm just sitting here impressed, and I'm going, that's why he's the director of communications, because, man, I couldn't do that job.
Oh, you got it. You got it. Hey, I'm here for you. I am here for you. So the Run for Responders 5K, that is the kickoff event to 2021. Hey, we got to put 2020 behind us. You know, are you the optimist, the pessimist? Is the glass half full, half empty? No, 2021, that's piss. So, I mean, I don't know what better way to say it, but let's put 2021 or 2020 behind us and kick off that First Responder 5K. But we got a couple great events before we get there. So very first thing, let's get out to the Dirty Ore on the 27th of September. Drink an incredible brew, have a great time, and thank the Dirty Ore for all that they do. We hope that you follow us on Facebook. Reach out, tell someone that you love them, that you care about them. We care about you, and stay connected. Survive First, Doug, Paul, Chris, and Chris. We'll see you soon.
All right, Chris, I'll see you, brother.